Well, we might be in alert level 3 lockdown here in Auckland, but there's still a massive weekend of sport coming up for us to sink our teeth into and get our eyes all over. And I'm joined now by Henry Rounce. He's the Sky Sport News producer, journalist extraordinaire. Henners, what are you keen to take a look at this weekend?
We'll start with the Phoenix on Saturday night because that game's been confirmed. So that elimination final is going to be against the Perth Glory, and that one is Saturday at 7 p.m. On Sky Sport 7. There'll also be a bit of a build-up show on the Sky Sport Instagram, so look out for that as well. But yeah, obviously the Phoenix, a little bit of a downward spiral, I guess, since the restart. They've been struggling for goals, but in Perth, I think it's probably a pretty winnable game.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it? It's what's the word? A dichotomy. Because on one hand you can praise them, on the other hand you can say how poorly they've done since they've come out of lockdown. Because they've had 6 games, they've only won one of those. In the last 4 games, they've only scored 2 goals. But it is the best ever season for the Phoenix in terms of their finish in the regular season. So it's good, it's bad. I kind of want them to rectify their issues in front of goal. And they've got a pretty decent team to do it against. Perth Glory is the only team they've beaten since we returned out of lockdown, Henry.
Yeah, that's right. And obviously I think the loss of Gary Hooper, he's out for the season now with a hamstring injury. That's going to be a big blow when you look at his impact and his finishing, because we've seen in the last couple of games, they've started off with a hiss and a roar. They've played really good, but they just haven't been able to put the ball on the net.
Yeah, Ulysses Davila's gone on record as to say it doesn't matter what's happened in the last few weeks. They're in the playoffs. You've got to make it count now. So hopefully their luck will turn.
Exactly. And another team hoping to make the playoffs, albeit probably a little bit more unlikely, is the Warriors, of course. Sunday after, yeah, big call, I know. They're on Sunday afternoon, that one starting coverage at 3 p.m. on Sky Sport 4. Against the Bulldogs, you look at the Bulldogs, obviously last on the ladder. The Warriors have been, I guess, they've been trending upwards the last couple of weeks, but with a few injuries, it could be quite a tough one.
Yeah, it's not just the last couple of weeks, Henners. It's actually the last 4 weeks or so. Because if you want to go back to the Roosters game, they were in it right up until the 50th minute, and then they sort of opened up the door and the Roosters walked through for an 18-10 victory. Since then, though, they've had wins against the Tigers, the Seagulls. They were really strong against the Penny Panthers. Yep, Penrith got out to a pretty handy lead, but the Warriors called them back. And yeah, the injuries are a concern. Obviously, down on numbers, they've gotten in loan players, but they've got injuries to the likes of Patrick Herbert, who's been a starter. Chanel Harris-Savita, we don't know what he's going to be up to with his head knock. He collided with Adam Kieran. Kieran, he's in Disneyland. I don't know if we're going to see him again this season. They've also got a suspension in the form of Eliesa Katoa, who's been one of their better players, the youngster. So yeah, it's interesting. For all of the good stuff that they've done on the field, they're constantly being dragged down by all the negatives off of it. We've talked about the injuries, the suspension to Elias Katoa, but also Brett Finch. He was brought in as a mentor for this side, and then he breaches biosecurity rules to record a podcast, and so he can't come back. Todd Payton's annoyed with him. Brett Finch, I don't know what he's going to do next. You got the issue of the perceived issue, I should say, of the Vodafone sponsorship hanging over their head. That's been sorted out now.
I know what you mean. It's every week there's new things that come out, but credit to them, so far that doesn't really seem to have actually been that much of a distraction despite everything that's been going on. They have actually tended to put out a pretty good performance.
Yeah, and when you look at the Bulldogs, bottom of the table, Warriors should be able to get the job done. But the Dogs also welcome back Will Hopewate. He's playing at fullback, and I know that they've named Dallin Watene-Zelezniak, the Kiwis captain, on an extended bench, so expect to see him in the mix somewhere too.
And of course, that Warriors game leads quite nicely onto the big game in the netball. It's the ANZ Premiership final on that Sunday night. That one from 6:30 down in Invercargill, the spiritual home of netball, I guess you could say. That one on Sky Sport 3 and Prime. Obviously, Tactix, first-time finalists. The Pulse have been so dominant over the past few years. Do you think the Tactix have a chance of pulling off an upset?
Short answer is no. Reasons for that, the Pulse will be at full strength. Maddie Gordon will return at wing attack, and Amelia Anacasio will be in the shooting circle alongside Aaliyah Dunn. When they last met in round 9 of the regular season, They were without those two players, Gordon and Ignacio, and the replacements just didn't quite cut muster. They were down at the end of the first quarter, and then while the replacements, they managed to sort of get to grips with what was going on, the gap was too large. They couldn't close it, and therefore we see the Tactix win. With the Pulse having everybody at their disposal, I just can't see how they can win. They're very similar sides, in my opinion, but the Pulse just do it better. They're far more polished, and unfortunately, the Tactix, they'll come up short on Sunday.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that as well. Obviously, it's been a massive season from the Tactix to make it there. We know the struggles they've had in the past, but when you look at the Pulse, you look at the experience in that lineup of Ekanasio and Rore as well, it's a pretty dominant-looking outfit.
Yep, Karen Berger, you can mention her as well. She's part of the trifecta of that defensive unit. Very difficult to get good ball into the shooting circle when you've got somebody like that just ranging outside. Yeah, I mean, look, the Tactix, they've come on. They've won their last 6, and in that run, they beat everybody in the competition, including, obviously, the Mystics, who finished 3rd, and the Pulse. But, yeah, I just can't see them getting it done on grand final day, Henry. I just can't.
Exactly. I'll have to watch that one with interest. And, of course, the weekend actually pushes on to Monday morning because we've got the Champions League finals. We have PSG against Bayern Munich. It's a bit of a blockbuster, that one. PSG, their first Champions League final. Bayern Munich, they've been looking in really dominant form, so that's going to be a great one to watch as well. And, of course, at the moment, we've got the Caribbean Premier League games. For Africa, really, they're rolling on every day at the moment. The NBA playoffs have been great, and the Indy500 too. So make sure, keep an eye on Sky Sport this weekend. There's plenty going on and plenty to sink your teeth into.
Awesome, Henry. Thanks for your time, mate. Enjoy yourself, and hopefully I'll be able to wrap my arms around you soon. Take care.
I hope so too, mate.